This is obviously a semi-professional job in here, the student life of DePauw in 1941. The year before the war, that fall, was Pearl Harbor. As I say, it would be a normal period, the end of the Depression. And this is Francis Chase, who was a junior at that time, and Robert Glass, who is of the class of 1943. They were both active in the Thespians, or the club for theater, so I imagine that's why they were picked for this particular role. This is evidence of waking up in the morning in the dormitory. I was amused. They have nothing on the wall, which would be the regulations. This is interesting. She was awakened at 6:30 in the morning, which was when people went to classes, probably at 8 o'clock. So you got up much earlier than today, 58 years later. This is the dining room at the Mason Hall. They had a waitress. The girls pray there, I guess, have a little blessing, which I don't know is typical of today. They are rather formal in their dress and congenial. And we had obviously tomato juice. Mason Hall, which had been occupied in the fall of the year before this picture was apparently taken, and this is the outside, and the dining room was from Mason Hall that we just saw, and this includes the girls apparently going off to class. I think their clothing is fascinating because it's so formal in relationship to contemporary dress, and it was interesting. You have the girls emphasized more than the men, and the dormitory rather than in any of the organized units. They're going now into Asbury Hall, and the men wore ties a lot, and sweaters, and general, sometimes coats to a class. This is Professor Carl W. McGuire. He taught economics. He came here about 1939. Those days lecturing was the norm, and he taught here for several years, and had gone by 1943. Evidence of the students, you can see wearing beads to class, a tie, and as a young man, and sweater. That was typical of the era. Here they are meeting in front of Harrison Hall, which had been recently constructed. I think it probably was just 2 years old by that time. So the picture showing both our newest buildings. This is the interior of the entrance at Harrison Hall, and they're calling attention to the engraving on the floor there, the logo of the university. This is in the psychology laboratory. Dr. Middleton, that's Warren Middleton, and Francis Chase. I don't know who the young man is. They're having experiments. The psychology emphasized a lot of the lab period at that time, and studying his reaction to a gun being shot. I don't know whether this is implying that we don't know enough about alcohol to detect it, or at least it proved to the fact that our young people are not, in 1940, involved in alcohol if they reacted that way. This is the entrance to Goban Church, apparently on a chapel day. Here comes along the outside. Normally they were inside, but this would be good for the shot of the Goban Church, Methodist Church, with the choir marching. Van Denman Thompson was still the director of the choir but Tommy never marched as far as I know. But we notice Wednesday chapels were quite formal in those days, but were religious chapels. That is President Clyde Wildman, whom you see with the red mantle on his robe. I don't know who the other gentleman was, perhaps a guest speaker at that time. Here they're coming out of it. Again, notice the formality. Wildman on the right as he comes out. And here come our dear friends, having had a chapel date, if you will, in a religious circumstance. Now they're walking along the campus. This is the entrance to Minshall Lab, the Knoll Laboratory. You'll see a glass here working in the old chemistry lab, and despite wearing a coat and tie, he has a lab coat on. I don't know if they still use lab coats. I doubt it in the laboratories here in 2010, but anyway, they did in 1940.